A battle that some portend could become the central fight in the Republican campaign season was launched this week when a super PAC that is closely aligned with Senator Marco Rubio launched this attack ad against Senator Ted Cruz and his support for a law that would curtail the NSA's ability to gather up your phone records. Here's a little piece of that ad.
Our leaders must keep America safe. But when Ted Cruz had the chance to fight Barack Obama's dangerously weak anti-terror policies, he didn't. Instead, Cruz voted to weaken America's ability to identify and hunt down terrorists.
And then just this afternoon, a super PAC that is closely aligned with Senator Ted Cruz fought back with this political video.
Why are Marco Rubio's Rhino donors attacking Ted Cruz for fighting Barack Obama's NSA spying? Because Ted Cruz is surging in the polls, and Rubio's people are desperate. Desperate because Rubio stood with Obama and Chuck Schumer on his Gang of Eight amnesty scheme.
Not wasting any time in responding there, Steve. The battle has been joined.
Yeah, it's a very interesting exchange to watch. I mean, Ted Cruz has worked hard to position himself between what he describes as the two poles of the Republican Party, the non-interventionists on the one side, the neocons on the other, Rand Paul on one side, Marco Rubio on the other. I think we're seeing play out right now the potential downsides of that positioning. And that's not to say that Ted Cruz doesn't believe it. I think he believes it sincerely. I think he thinks that we should have a spare but brutal application of U.S. power when we use U.S. power, but that we shouldn't be trying to shape outcomes when we can't determine what the outcomes are. I think Rubio believes in a much more robust national security posture, both at home and abroad, and believes sincerely that the elimination of that bulk data collection does imperil us, and certainly that's consistent with what I hear from my intelligence sources.
Well, yeah, and these are two candidates that aren't particularly well known right now. This has been a race all about Donald Trump. They're not focusing on Donald Trump right now. They're trying to focus on the people who aren't voting for Donald Trump, which is a bigger chunk of the electorate. And they're trying to position themselves at this time of terror and concern as the most consistent and the most hardened and the most ready and able to take the job of commander-in-chief. And so you're going to see them continue to make these positions, whether it's in Iowa or New Hampshire. Of course, it's interesting that, as you noted, these are super PACs that are spending this money. This is not the candidates themselves, and that's going to be another piece in this. The Cruz campaign still has more cash on its own in its campaign than the Rubio campaign does at this point.
One thing that's self-evident here is that Senator Marco Rubio can also read numbers, and if you look at the latest Quinnipiac poll in Iowa, look how Cruz has absolutely jumped. Trump at 25%, still in the lead, but Cruz now only 2 points behind, with Carson at 18 and Rubio at 13. The next closest, Paul, in single digits. Yeah. He's got to fight back. Rubio does.
Well, it seems what's most interesting, I think, in this exchange is how narrow their actual differences are on policy. After all, two of them are pretty hard line on data collection, except that one said that we should hold the data. The tougher position is the government holds it. The weaker one, I suppose, is that the companies hold it. It isn't a great difference. Yes, it's some, but it's hugely exaggerated. It's not going to be the end of the world either way. And the country is trying to find a sort of a reasonable compromise between security and privacy. So you draw the line here or there, but it's hardly, you know, that the fate of the world hangs on this. On the other hand, with Cruz's accusation about the Gang of Eight, as I understand the Cruz position, his idea is a path to legalization, whereas Rubio was flirting with citizenship. That's a difference, yes, but it's something that would happen 15 or 20 years out, and is not exactly a huge difference on the idea of allowing him to stay, unlike a Trump who would kick him out. So they have to exaggerate the difference because they are pretty close together, same age, first-term senators, Cuban-American, silver-tongued, and they're fighting it out for the entry into the finals that will be one of them. So they have to exaggerate. But I'm not yet impressed by the substance of the difference.
Is Trump going to fire back at Cruz, given that narrowing of the Iowa Quinnipiac poll?
Well, he will, whoever nips at his heel. Right now it's Cruz. But I think he's sort of savoring the of Carson. So he may lay off on the attack for a little bit.
Well, that's it.